Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Sports Ball edition. So yeah, week one was insane. Insane for a lot of good and bad reasons. Good in the sense that we had a lot of really close games, and bad because, some fantasy picks and sports betting picks didn't really pan out, but some of them did. But for the most part, it was just a ton of games that just went completely down to the wire. And I'm going to briefly go over just the week one. Just go over briefly week one. And then touch on some picks I have going in to week two. And yeah, so with that being said, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So first off, definitely that Bills-Rams game, opening night, definitely underwhelming, unless you're a Bills fan. I just bet games and watch them for the hell of it. I was completely speechless after watching the Rams. And when watching that game, it was almost as if that team was not even a playoff team last year. I mean, it was hard to think that Rams team are the defending Super Bowl champions. There were times during that game where it looked like, on all sides of the ball, that they had no idea what they were doing. Like, there was no consistency. There was one drive where they actually looked good for the offense. Other than that, I mean, you're talking like just flat out mediocre coming from a Super Bowl team that went toe-to-toe with one of the top offenses last year in the Bengals. And I'm kind of like just kind of shocked, and especially since the Bills, I mean, now credit, when you turn the ball over 3 or more times, your team's going to find ways to put points on the board. But 31-10, I mean, it was just like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And obviously that, of course, affected all the bets. And Allen Robinson, turned out to be a dud, like a total dud, which I honestly did not expect. But how absolutely awful the offense looked for the Rams really kind of made me think, well, I mean, it's just what's to be expected. So now we've all had to hear the wails of Josh Allen fans all week saying, this is it, this is their year, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay. Well, once week two rolls around, I honestly don't even remember who they're playing this week. So who knows? They could easily win their next matchup if it's against a scrub. So we'll see. The Eagles-Lions game got off to a great start for betting because, my underdog picks last week, the Lions, if it wasn't for that dumb pick six all the way in the beginning, I think the Lions may have won that game. But, sure enough, the Lions do what they do best. They get right there, and then they choke right at the last second. In those types of situations, Matthew Stafford definitely would have won them that game. But really, though, I blame that ultimately on just a god-awful defensive game plan from the Lions. It seemed like every time they had Philadelphia on third down, it was just like Hurts just does really the only thing he can do the only thing he can do really effectively, and that's snap, roll out, run, first down. Hey, we got a new set of downs, so now we can run the ball again. It's like... And they did it time and time and time. I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights, and it was literally every third down. It was like every third down. You just snap, roll out, boom, easy first down. Okay, let's run the ball 2 more times, 3 more times. And it was just like, you just wanted to rip your hair out for if you're a defensive guy. Like, how the hell do you let this happen throughout the entire game? The entire game. There were so many times where they could have had the ball back and kept momentum, but no. It was almost like they just had like the outside completely wide open on purpose. It was pathetic. But of course, Swift, getting some serious yards there. If you had the over on the rushing yards for Swift, he nailed it on the first play, the first run play. But yeah, so that underdog failed. Then we come to the Bears 49ers, which was the shock of the week. But then again, not really, when you think about who's starting quarterback for the 49ers. Now, I know there are a lot of Trey Lance believers out there, but I'm not one of them. He looked shaky. He looked uneasy. He looked like he was taking too long and second-guessing himself in the pocket. And it seemed like the only solid completions he made were to players who didn't have a defender within 10 yards of them. So even a mediocre quarterback is going to make that throw. And credit to the Bears. I mean, they hung in there. The 49ers, I think, jumped out to an early 10-0 lead, if I'm not mistaken. And the defense was just doing a great job of, putting pressure on Fields, trying to neutralize his scrambling ability. I mean, they did a great job. And this is a Bears team that is absolutely devoid of talent at the receiver position. So I'm like really amazed that they won that game. But when the Niners are just constantly giving you the ball, you're bound to get a break at some point. Now, this one was quite possibly the Steelers-Bengals. Wild overtime. 2 missed field goals in overtime, and that second miss coming from the Bengals, and the Steelers ending up winning that game. Now, that was insane. That's a classic Bengals-Steelers rivalry type of game. Classic. And it was a lot of fun to watch. The only downside was that, my bad on that call for George Pickens. I swear to God, like, when I made that video last week, I swear I saw Deontay Johnson as, like, a possibility that he was going to miss the game with, like, a shoulder injury or something, and then, boom, he was out there, and Pickens was, like, caught one ball, and I was like, God, and this is what happens. My future in-laws came in over the weekend, so I didn't really have a chance to really check injury lines or anything like that. I just had to stick with my picks, and I should have, because I probably would have swapped, obviously, Pickens out for somebody else. So that's my fault on that one. And but nonetheless, great game, and that was, I think, the only underdog that I took this week that actually won, except for the Vikings. I think I picked the Vikings as well. But if you watched that game, it was really good. Patriots-Dolphins. This, honestly, was kind of surprising. The Patriots came out, and just like the Rams, they just looked completely on their ass. The Dolphins, Tua looked okay. Really, I mean, 20-7. I mean, yeah, it's like 20-7, but honestly, if you're going by touchdowns, it was a 2-possession game, and credit to the Miami defense. That's really all it really was. Browns-Panthers, this game really pissed me off because on the last drive, the Browns had to get in field goal range. It was because the Panthers were up by 1. And there was a call for a roughing the passer, blow to the head, where Brian Burns, clearly his arm is on Jacoby Brissett's shoulder, not even close to touching his head, and the ref standing right behind it, watching the whole thing, threw the flag, and that's ultimately what gave them the win. I think they were out of timeouts, and they got a free 15 yards after being at the 25, and after that it was just like two. All they needed was 2 completions, and they were money. So, and I think they kicked like a 58-yarder or something like that. So even with like, even after all that, they still kicked like an incredibly long field goal and won. So that one pissed me off simply because I picked the Panthers. And then this one was just like an enigma. Sure, Jonathan Taylor had a good game, but like, wow. The Texans were dominating. Davis Mills actually looks like a competent starter for the Texans. Like they honestly look like they have something. Maybe if I were to take a quick guess, like a Matt Schaub type of guy in Davis Mills, I think that's his name. And the Colts, I mean, I honestly wasn't expecting much out of the offense outside of Jonathan Taylor. I'm still like Matt Ryan. To me, his career drastically went down after the Super Bowl loss and when Kyle Shanahan left, because Kyle Shanahan ultimately made him a better quarterback with his offensive game plan, the design. They had all the right players around him. They had a pretty decent offensive line, and then once Shanahan left after they lost the Super Bowl, Matt Ryan's play just went downhill. And I became a Matt Ryan disbeliever after that. And when he went to the Colts, I was like, the Colts, they're just like, they're not finding a future solution to quarterback at this point. They went Carson Wentz last year. Then they're going Matt Ryan this year. It's like, who's the next veteran quarterback that they're going to trade for and take on their contract to try and make it back to the postseason? It's like, I don't see them. They'd be better off just tanking like they did when Peyton Manning had his neck injury and they like won one game or something like that, or 2 games, and they got Andrew Luck. Just let it go. Just let it go. They don't even have the weapons on offense outside of Jonathan Taylor. And don't get me started on Michael Pittman. He's a great player, but he's not an all-around number 1 receiver, Anyway, this game ended up in a tie. The Texans were dominating. The Colts came back, and I was kind of surprised, but not really, because the Texans, I mean, they're not a great team either, so it was really just a toilet bowl. Saints-Falcons, another crazy one. Saints were ahead, or was it the Saints or the Falcons that were ahead? I think it was the Saints were ahead, then the Falcons came storming back, and then the Saints came back and won on a last-second, I think, field goal or something. Crazy game. A lot of crazy things. The biggest one was Alvin Kamara. I had no idea, again, that Kamara was playing with a rib injury. Terrible for daily fantasy reasons. But yeah, crazy game. One that went down to the wire. Fun to watch. Ravens, Jets. I mean, there's really nothing else. There's really nothing to say here outside of the Jets suck. I mean, they're just a terrible team, and it's sad. And I honestly don't know if Zach Wilson's going to improve anything. This one, I honestly thought the Jags were going to hold on to this, but Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz, in my opinion, really needed to win this game in order to get the belief and the hype built back up for the team, because there was a lot of question marks with this move to bring Carson Wentz to Washington. So, disappointing for the Jags to give up the lead, but really important for Carson Wentz to have won that game. Vikings-Packers, this was the one I knew in my gut the Vikings were going to win. And honestly, you can't really blame Aaron Rodgers. All the blame is solely on that god-awful front office in Green Bay. They tricked him into signing an extension, and then they traded the best wide receiver they had. It's just like, is this team dedicated to making life for Aaron Rodgers as difficult as possible? Because that's what it seems like. I mean, I like some of their draft picks, but you're not keeping Aaron Rodgers around to build for the future. You're keeping him around to win right now, and you're getting rid of all the players that can help you do that. I mean, it's just it's the worst front office next to I don't know. There's a few others I can name, but just like the front office in Green Bay, I think is going to take the cake for the worst front office in the NFL. like they. I know I'm joking, but it's like it really feels like they tricked Aaron Rodgers into signing that extension, and then they just trade the best offensive player next to Aaron Rodgers away to the Raiders. Like they shipped him as far away as possible, and I'm just like, that's just typical Green Bay. That is totally something they would do. They would lock him into an extension, and then they would just make life harder for him. It's like they're trying to piss him off. Giants Titans. I cannot believe the Giants won this game. But it was and it was off a missed field goal too. The Titans missed the field goal. But Saquon Barkley is back with a vengeance. Like that was incredible to see him go off like that. Really was nice because the guy with that kind of athletic ability can just really dominate this game and really take the Giants to a whole other level. But you got to depend on Daniel Jones to be everything that the organization is hoping he can be. So, and as for the Titans, man, what a letdown! What a letdown for your Week 1 opener. Chargers Raiders. Not the start you're looking to have if you're Derek Carr and Devontae Adams and this big. I'm calling it the curse of Gruden. Look, as far as the whole controversy and him getting fired and the emails, and it's like that's whatever. I call it the curse of Gruden because it sounds like it would be something that Gruden would do. He would curse the organization on his way out. But it's Week 1. It's Week 1. We make jokes on this channel, but the Chargers looked great. They looked solid at 24-19. It was a close game, but the Chargers definitely looked like they can seriously tonight. Kansas City, Los Angeles. That's going to be a high scoring game, and we'll get to that in a minute. Chiefs Cardinals. I mean, good Lord. This game was over by like the third quarter, I think, or halftime. Yeah, and not looking good if you're a Cardinals fan after giving Kyler Murray that insane contract extension. Buccaneers Cowboys. This game broke my heart because I was expecting Dak Prescott to be, a little bit better, but you can only do so much with like no talent around you outside of Elliott and Lamb, and a banged-up offensive line. And then to really rub salt in the wound for Dallas fans is him, I think, like breaking his thumb or did something to his thumb, and he had to have surgery. It's terrible. But give credit to the Dallas defense. They were able to keep the Buccaneers to 19 points, and I was expecting it to be a high-scoring game. And then the Seahawks-Broncos, another one I thought. And, of course, Russell Wilson has to lose in Seattle. And like, the Seattle fans had the audacity to boo him when he came onto the field. And I'm like, this is the guy that brought you all the city's first Super Bowl. And you're going to boo the guy because he wanted to get out because, again, Seahawks, another one of the worst front offices in football. All that guy wanted was an offensive line. That's all he wanted. That's it. He never really just give the guy an offensive line. That's all you have to do. But anyway, but you did see some of the flashes of what this Broncos offense can do. That big play to Jerry Jeudy, some of the big plays to Courtland Sutton. I mean, there was a lot of opportunities. But the big thing that really ruined this Denver game were the 2 fumbles. And I think both of them were by Melvin Gordon. I mean, at the goal line. It's 14 points right there. And this game would be totally different. But that's what everybody says about turnovers like that. So, anyway, enough about Week 1. Let's get into... I'm going to have to edit that out. Don't want anybody seeing my email. All right. So, let's get back... Let's take a look at the bets that I got. So, open bets, we got... Now, I love these one-game parlays. These are starting to become some of my favorite things. So, I built a bunch of them out here. Yeah, Herbert and Mahomes each 250. Austin Eckler, anytime touchdown scorer. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, anytime touchdown. Kelce, anytime. A lot of these are anytime touchdowns, but because I'm really anticipating this game to be a high scoring, total points over 50.5, plus 775 odds. Like that one. A bunch of one-game parlays on this one. Player touchdowns: Edwards-Helaire, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Williams. I like that one a lot, mainly because for the Chargers, Keenan Allen is out, and also for the Chiefs. Mahomes did say it could be anybody, any week that's going to step up and be the guy. But we all know Kelce's going to get the ball. Eckler, just because of his receiving and rushing ability, I feel like he's a lock to get. Okay, not a lock, but he's like really. He should really be on pace to get a touchdown here, whether it's through the air or on the ground. Over 54.5 points on this one here. Let's see. Then I got, of course, some college here. I got Michigan plus 3.5 against Washington. Commanders and Lions. I'm taking the Commanders on the money line. They had an odds boost on for the Commanders this week on BetMGM, so I'd put some money on that. And then again, more one-game parlays. I don't know why. I wish they would organize this, but I think it's just in the order that you made the bets. Again, Eckler anytime. Chiefs first half spread. Chiefs minus 3.5. Total points over 54.5. So decent. That's a pretty hefty one there. The biggest one, because it's weird. This game could go either way, because I feel like the Chargers have a better defense than the Chiefs, and the Chiefs, well, I mean, they could hang with some of the best defenses. So, and then of course the money line. This one with the free bet, I just went Chargers money line and over 54.5 points. So. And the reason why I'm leaning more on the Chargers is because, like I said, I feel like the Chargers have a better defense than the Chiefs, which means I feel like Justin Herbert will probably be able to throw the ball a little bit more. I think the Chiefs' run defense might be a little bit better than their pass defense. And, of course, it's Mahomes, it's Herbert. Both teams like to throw the ball. I expect a high-scoring game. Let's hope there is. So those are the picks on BetMGM. Don't really have anything on WinBet or really anywhere else. I haven't made any lineups for DraftKings yet. I don't know if there are free rolls for Classic this week. There's a bunch. Let me see. Been going for about 20 minutes. I do have, well, I'll go ahead and just go through some lineups that I like. It won't be the full lineup, but like I did last week. But we'll go through a few. Take a look. Let's see. So Murray against the Raiders. Everyone, wow, and he's the most expensive quarterback this week? I mean, with Mahomes and Herbert out there, but wow, more expensive than Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson won the game, and Murray lost, and honestly, their team didn't look that great. I mean, wow. Huh. How about that, huh? Joe Burrow all the way down. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, he turned the ball over 4 times. Brady against New Orleans. I don't know. Stafford at Atlanta. I think, especially at 6,300, I feel like Stafford at 6,300 is definitely something to take a look at against Atlanta. They're at home. So I feel like if there was a game to bounce back from after a week 1 loss, it's definitely this one. So I'd say, let's see, Carr against the Cardinals. I don't know. See, the offense and Derek Carr have to look better than they did last week. He threw 3 picks. He lost. He fumbled the ball twice. I mean, yeah, he threw for 295 and 2 touchdowns, but like 3 picks, 2 fumbles. It's just not good, man. 16.8 fantasy points. I mean, yeah, it was more than Stafford and Brady, but I mean, even Burrow, even Burrow, with 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles, and a lost fumble, was able to put up 26. Well, mainly because I mean he got 47 rush yards, but like I got to see more out of the offense before I would say put Derek Carr in against Arizona. Carson Wentz, another great budget option. Like I said, nothing spectacular. Oh wait, what am I talking about? 4 touchdowns. I didn't. My bad. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought they ran a few touchdowns. No, yeah, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but you expect that with Carson Wentz. You put 12 yards on the ground. You didn't fumble the ball at all. 32 points, 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards. Threw the ball 41 times against the Lions. That should be an easy pick there for if you're going budget. Not sold on Matt Ryan either. I mean, I know he kind of bounced back a little bit, but he only threw 1 touchdown. He had 352 yards, but he also fumbled the ball 4 times and lost 1 and threw an interception. So against Houston, all right. So I'm not completely sold on Matt Ryan. Let's see. You could even, if you really want to dumpster dive, Baker Mayfield's all the way down here at 53 against the Giants. I'd say this is really attractive. Okay. So with all that, I would say the quarterbacks to look at, definitely Russell Wilson. Joe Burrow, maybe. Dallas's defense looked pretty good. But let's say Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Carson Wentz, Jacoby Brissett, and Baker Mayfield, and maybe even Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if Davis Mills could have moved the ball as well as he did against Indianapolis, I would expect Trevor Lawrence to be able to do the same. So maybe Trevor Lawrence, but I mean, 5,300, they're both the same. I would bet that Baker Mayfield has a much better game than this. I mean, this was pretty bad. He also fumbled the ball 4 times. So yeah, those are my quarterbacks. On the fence is Trevor Lawrence, but yeah, Mayfield, Brissett, Wentz, Stafford, and Wilson. At running back, obviously Jonathan Taylor. I would say maybe Christian McCaffrey. That offensive line is just so bad in Carolina. Kamara still has that rib injury, so I don't know. Barkley, definitely. Mixon, if the Bengals are going to win, I think it's going to be on the ground game. Leonard Fournette tore up Dallas, so I think Mixon is probably a safe bet against Dallas. Chubb against the Jets, I would say yeah. Swift is on the injury report, and he missed practice today, so you got to keep an eye on that. But I would say DeAndre Swift. Fournette's on the injury report as well. Harris is looking like a go, but I don't know. I don't know against New England. Javonte Williams, yes, absolutely. He looked great. They balance the ball so much with Melvin Gordon, even though he only fumbled once. Oh, did Javonte do the other fumble? Oh, wow, they both fumbled. That really sucks. Anyway, Josh Jacobs, yeah, I would look at Josh Jacobs against Arizona. Wow. My man Rashad Penny getting no respect. 5 yards a carry. But again, running back by committee. Seattle uses a lot of running backs. Yeah, definitely Taylor. McCaffrey, just because of his receiving upside. Barkley, Mixon, Chubb. Javonte Williams and Josh Jacobs. Probably worth looking at players like maybe James Robinson or Rashad Penny. Yeah, I think that's about it for that. Receivers, definitely Cooper Kupp. Um, I think Jamar Chase, yeah, definitely. Um, I like Jalen Waddle. I don't know. Miami against Baltimore, that's a tough one. Cortland Sutton, definitely. Wow, are all these Denver receivers going to be down in this bracket here? Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. Wow. I'd look at some of the Denver receivers for sure. Um, Maybe even some of the Pitt receivers, just because New England struggled on defense a little bit. Robinson again, 1 of 2 targets, 12 yards. Got to see more before you can commit, even at 5,500. I'd honestly would start Amari Cooper, and he only caught 3 catches for 17 yards, but he had 6 targets. So I'd start Amari Cooper over that. Drake London is a great option. He caught 5 catches for 74 yards. He's got no injury designation. He's only 5,200. But again, it's the Rams. So, I mean, I know the Rams gave up a bunch against the Bills, but worth looking at. Jarvis Landry, but again, it's Tampa Bay. Their defense looked great. Yeah, I'd say some of the Pitt receivers, definitely some of the Denver receivers, some cheap options that have some upside. Cooper, Drake London, I would say Cooks, just because he had a big game, 7 catches, 82 yards. And don't get it twisted. Denver may have the first right there, but Geno Smith was throwing all over that Denver secondary. And also running. They were running through that Denver defense. Let's see. Terry McLaurin might be another one. He only had 4 targets, but he had a touchdown and he had 58 receiving yards. I'd look to him to have like a bigger game this year or this week. Kupp, Chase, and the rest. Trying to hurry up because I don't want this video to be too long. We're already at half an hour. Mark Andrews, definitely someone to take a look at. Kittle is questionable, so I don't know. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He's got a groin issue. Groin issues are I've had a bad groin injury in high school. That shit takes forever to heal. And it bothered me for a few years, actually. It was really sensitive for years. Darren Waller, definitely looking to have a bigger game. 4 catches for 79 yards. I mean, 79 yards is great, but, I think a bigger game in Arizona. Let's see. Schultz might end up being the number 1 receiver next to CeeDee Lamb because there's really no one else. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really like a lot of these other options. Yeah, a lot of these are just like really throwing darts, and a lot of these tight ends, you're really hoping they just score a touchdown. Defense, go to the bottom and just find the best looking one. A group of like 3 that you can diversify through your lineups of the best looking defenses. I'd say put the Bengals down there because this might be the best defensive play this week, putting the Bengals against the backup quarterback in Dallas. I think that might be your best option. Next best would probably be maybe the Jets against Jacoby Brissett because who knows. But I wouldn't – I don't know. Brissett looks pretty good, but you just never know, man. Brissett could come out and have like one of those bad Brissett games. Maybe the Seahawks defense. Maybe. Because they played pretty well against Russell Wilson. Yeah. So those are my picks. Those are the ones I'm rolling with that I'm going to build some lineups for. Thank you so much for watching. And I swear to God, one of these days I will make another Magic the Gathering video and go over Dominaria United. All All right. Take care. Best of luck to you. Hope you win all of your bets and all of your games. And I'll see you all in the next one.